Hello, I'm super excited about chapter 8. So we're going to be doing some fun things, kind of like puzzles, and putting puzzles together and taking puzzles apart is what I would equate chapter 8 to. So we're going to be looking at polynomials and adding in this lesson, and I can't wait to get started. So let's look at first some terminology. So it's important that we know what a polynomial is. There's 4 different kinds. There's a monomial, binomial, trinomial, and polynomial. And so as we look at what those mean, a monomial is a number or just a variable or the product of those. So a number would be 3, a variable would be 3x or x. A product of those would be 3x. Okay, product meaning multiply, or 4t, or negative 4t, okay? So that would be a product of both of those. A binomial, on the other hand, would be either the difference or sum of 2 monomials. So maybe 2x minus 3x, let's make this a square. 2x squared minus 3x would be an example of a binomial, okay? And we're going to be looking at how those work. A trinomial, what do you think a trinomial is? I'm hoping you said the sum or difference of 3 monomials. So what would that look like? Let's see. So 2x squared minus 3x plus 4. That would be a trinomial. And most of the things that we're going to be doing are going to have to do with trinomials. That's a specific trinomial. What did we call that in chapter, the last chapter when we were graphing? What did we call that? We called that a quadratic, okay? All right. And then a polynomial. What do you think a polynomial is? You guessed it, the sum or difference of 4 or more monomials. So maybe 3x squared, nope, we'd have to have more than squared. 3x to the 4th minus 2x cubed plus x squared minus x plus 4, okay? And we would have to know, how many terms do we have here? Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different terms. Some of them are, one of them is a constant. This is a quartic, okay? So we're going to kind of give those a little bit of a name as we look through those. So all depends on how many terms are being added or subtracted as to how we define monomial, binomial, trinomial, polynomial, okay? Hopefully you've paused the video so that you can copy those down. I am going to move on, but you can always pause to get those. So as we're looking at this chart, I want to define those words just a little bit more. So a constant is just that. It's something that's constant. It doesn't vary. So 4 or negative 6, okay? How would we graph that? That graph would be a point, okay? A linear example would be something that would be degree 1. So our degree comes from our exponent. So that would be y equals, we'll put a number in there. I would rather have a fraction. 1/2 x plus 6, okay? What's the number on what's the exponent on my x? It's going to be a 1. So that would be a linear equation, okay? What's my graph look like? It looks like a line, okay? This is a positive slope, so it would be a positive direction line. A quadratic. We just learned quadratics, and so that's going to have an exponent of 2. So y equals, that's not y equals 4x squared minus 3x plus 1. Okay? That, because of this little number 2 here, gives me the degree of 2, and it would be quadratic. What did that graph look like? It looked like a U. Okay? If I'm looking at a cubic degree of a cubic equation, I would have y equals 3x cubed plus 7x squared plus x plus 1. Okay? So that would be a cubic degree. And my graph for that is going to look more like that. Okay. And then a quatric, a degree quatric. So I'm looking at degree here. And again, my degree of my polynomial is defined by what my exponent is. So if the exponent, the highest exponent is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we're not going to really do anything higher than that, it would be a quatric. So let's see, y equals, I don't know, 1/2 x to the 4th plus 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus x minus 3, okay? And a quatric would look kind of like this. It would have 4 different solutions. It would go through your x-axis 4 times. So maybe it looks kind of like this here, okay? So this being my x-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4, it goes through 4 times, okay? And maybe this is my y-axis, okay? So those are what your different graphs would look like. We're not going to do so much with the graphs in regular algebra, but you are going to do that with later algebra courses. So just a little familiarity of what those words mean. Okay, so when we're looking at polynomials and we're looking at classifying them, okay, we always look at whether or not they have the number of terms they have and the degree, and then we can also look at the shape of the graph as well. So using your notes, how many terms does this one have? This one has 2 terms, okay? It's got an x squared term and it's got a constant term. So if it's got 2 terms being added together, it is a binomial. I'm going to have you fill in the rest of this chart here. How many terms does this have? How many terms does this have? And then I also want you to put down your degree. So the degree for this is 2 because my exponent is 2. So I'd like you to fill in the rest of this chart and then come back and check out to see how you did. Do it in pencil. Okay, I'm hoping that you have a u here for this being a quadratic because it's an x squared term. Okay, even though that x term isn't there, it's still a quadratic. And I'm hoping that you had 1 term here, which would make this a monomial. You could just put mon. And your degree, what's your exponent, is 1. And then this would be a line because your slope is 4y, but you just have no y-intercept, right? So it would just be 4y going through 0 for your y-intercept. 5x cubed minus 2. Oh, nope, I take that back. My notes are different. How many do I have here? I have 3 terms. This is one term, this is a second term, and this is a second term. Notice I include the sign, so there's 3 terms, which makes this a trinomial. Okay, what's my degree? What's my highest exponent in this one? It's 4. Okay, that kind of gives you a real crazy graph. It's kind of like a kind of like that, but it's probably more like a parabola, but kind of off to the side. It's just a weird graph. 18 would be how many terms? 1. A monomial. Okay. Specifically, that would be a constant. My degree would be what? Do I have an exponent on the variable? Is there a variable there? There isn't. And so there's no exponent on the variable. So my degree is 0 here. And this graph would be a point. Okay. What about this? Now, how many terms do I have here? I've got 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms. So I have 4 terms. Okay. And how many x cubes do I have in this pile? Remember, my coefficient, my number in front, tells me how many I have, and there's 3 x cubes, there's 7x squared, okay? That's important, and that's going to make a difference later. So we call this a polynomial. You could just write poly, okay? The degree of this polynomial, notice that there's more than one exponent. There's a 3 here, a 2 here, and a 1 here. What's the highest? The highest is 3, so that's my degree, okay? And what does that graph look like? It kind of looks like this. So that's kind of what that graph will look like, all right? So that is classifying by terms and classifying by our degree. And our degree, again, comes from the highest exponent in the polynomial, and the classified by terms comes from how many terms we have. So monomial, binomial, trinomial, polynomial. Okay, let's talk about adding, shall we? So when we're talking about adding polynomials, we want to think of this as like terms, okay? So you want to look at your exponents. Here I've got an x squared times y. Here I have an x squared times y. Oh, I have another x squared times y. So all 3 of these are like terms. So when I add these together, I can do that just like if they were like terms. So what I want to do is I want to lump them together, and then I want to add my coefficients, okay? So I get 3x squared times y plus 2x squared times y plus 2x squared times y. And now I'm going to add these together. So this is one thing. And then I have plus xy squared. That's a whole different term by itself. It doesn't have another partner. So that's what I'm going to add together. So now I add my coefficients. 3 plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. So I get 8x squared y times y plus my other term. So when I am adding these together, I'm simply adding like terms, and I'm only adding the coefficients. I'm not doing anything with the exponents. No doing any adding of the exponents. The reason I can add them is based on what the exponent is. Okay? So how would I do this one? What would I combine together, and what would I get for an answer? Now when I have it written like this, this is a binomial plus another binomial. So we can do this 2 ways. We can do it where we group them together, or we can do what's called align and add. And align and add is just this. I'm going to take this binomial and I'm going to put it under here by like terms. So I've got x minus 2. My x's go together because they're both x's. My constants go together because they're both constants. And now I add. 3x plus 1x is 4x. 1 plus negative 2 is negative 1. And so when I add these two together, this is my answer. When I add a binomial with a binomial, I'm going to get another binomial. Okay? So, two different methods. This is a line and add. And then this is by grouping like terms. Okay? All right. So, what I would like you to do, you may pick either method. I don't care which method you do. Align and add, or group by term, and then add them together. The sign in front of it goes with that, so this is a positive 2x, this is a positive 3, this is a positive x, this is a negative 2, positive x squared, okay? Remember to put your imaginary ones in when you're adding, and remember to add only your coefficients, only the numbers in front. Do not change the exponents at all in your answer, okay? I would like you to try 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to come back and talk about it, okay? Try 1, 2, and 3, and we'll come back and talk about it. Pause the video to do that now. Okay, because our video is getting a little bit long, I'm just going to go through these really fast. I chose to align and add this one. Absolutely no reason why I chose to align and add. I kind of like align and add better, so that's why I chose to do it first. I put imaginary 1 in front of both my x squareds, so I got 2x squareds. If one of them would have been negative, obviously I would subtract. 2x plus 1x is 3x. 3 plus negative 2, that's a negative 2, is 1. Okay, so that's my answer for number 1. Number 2, I chose to do grouping of like terms. So my 2x squared plus my negative x squared, and to that I'm going to add my x plus my negative 4x, and to that I'm going to add my negative 3 plus my 2. Okay, here I'm going to get x squared minus 3x minus 1. Your sign of this solution goes in between your terms. And then the last one I aligned and added again. Like I said, I kind of like aligning and adding a little bit better, especially for subtraction lesson, which we'll be doing the next day. So here I got 11x squared plus x minus 2. Ask questions as we get to class, and we'll go over things and go from there. God bless. Make sure you go to the end of the video. See you tomorrow.